And the last question is, if you had to give a freelancer or a junior designer a piece of advice, what would it be?
Patience and hard work. Believe that you can do it. Like no matter like if you feel that you can, no matter if you feel that you're not good.
Welcome to a new Bravo Studio video. I'm Josefina Blattman and I'll be hosting this series of interviews. We'll be talking with designers, makers, and entrepreneurs who use no-code tools in order to launch great products. Now let's give a warm welcome to our first guest, Andrea Márquez. She's a Miami-based designer who's an expert on motion graphics, user interface, and user experience.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. Hi, Andrea. Thanks for joining us. We'll be talking about many things, about being a freelance designer, the no-code movement, social media. But first, I'll ask you to introduce yourself and tell me a bit about who are you, besides what I've already said, but something else about Andrea Márquez.
All right. Well, I start as a graphic designer. I'm Venezuelan. I studied there graphic design, and I kind of like wasn't sure about like what area I was going to pick, and I think when I started like learning more about websites and things, I just like went over that direction, and I started like doing it by myself and then like keep learning. So I'm kind of like that was how everything started. And right now I work in an art advertising agency here in Miami. I'm the art director, and I kind of like do a little bit of everything. I keep working as a graphic designer, but also a UX UI designer. And that will be kind of like reintroduce myself. I kind of like your introduction.
Okay, and I wanted to ask you about your Instagram handle. That's ansiosa. Would you like to explain what it means in Spanish and what is the play with words that you're doing there?
Yes. Yeah. When I think when I was like around 15, 16 years, I always was playing with my name, like kind of like and completed with different things. One of the things that I feel that is like supernatural for me is to be anxious, but in Spanish, ansiedad is like be ansiosa is like wishing for more. It's like working. It's not like in English, but anxious, you mean like that you're like nervous or like kind of like a little bit stressed about it. So I kind of like to be like all the time try to be like looking for more, like wishing more, like trying to learn more, because I started as a graphic designer, but I never felt that I was good. I had to put a lot of work to learn a lot of things and like kind of like train myself. So when I had my personal Instagram, and I never was like, I kind of like sometimes like posted design there, but it wasn't like kind of like the Instagram design platform that I use right now. And when I had to like pick up a name, I remember that I really like kind of like that play word with the Andrea, the and then the Ciosa. So it was like that. And I kind of like started because after like 10 years working with clients, I realized that I didn't have anything for myself. Like I haven't like create like a personal brand, like something that defined me. I was keeping my clients happy and in my work, everything. So I was actually feeling ansiosa, like not anxious, but like I was wishing for more, like to know who was like that person inside of me, like without the commercial side of things on design. Yeah. So that's kind of like how the name born and Instagram too.
Okay, well, that's great, and it's nice to know that ansiosa or anxious in Spanish is also, it has a positive meaning too, and it has something to do with ambition or with wanted more or growing as a professional and something like that. So it's nice. And I wanted to ask you, what made you want to become a designer? How was your choice there, and how did it happen?
That's a good one, because like I was saying, I felt when I was a kid, I liked to draw a lot. Mm-hmm. I wasn't good, so that was I kind of like always was seeing like different people's skills, like this, like drawing, and I was like, even though I love it, my lines weren't like, you know, that right now out there are like different type of illustrations. Like it's not like the perfect line, like the to be exactly like the, you know, like the photograph, or like, you know, like realism. It's not like that anymore. But I guess my perception was that I wasn't good. So I kind of like, when I was a kid, I stopped drawing a little bit, like while I was like growing. And then when I had to, when I was around like finishing high school and everything, MySpace, that was like kind of like the pre-Facebook platform.
Yes, something like pre-Fotolog too. No, in Latin America, did you use Fotolog?
No,
yeah.
No.
Ah, no?
No, that one.
No, okay.
MySpace,
MySpace.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I remember that you can kind of like customize your code, and I was doing that for my friends. I mean, customized to just like change the color, fonts, add some images. But for me, I was cracking the code. Like for me, I was like, you know, I want to do this. I really like. I was like started like seeing like how websites were like changing, kind of. And I was like, I like this. I want to do this. So what do I have to study for this? And today we have the UX UI design career. Back then it was graphic design or software engineer, coder, developer. It was one or the other. So I went for the coding part, and I sucked. It was too bad. It was too bad. At first I was like really like putting like all my efforts to try to learn, like really like I was trying to make it. But then I remember one of my professors asked us to create a calculator, and on the time that you start like testing, he kind of like turned the keyboard and start like pressing like backwards. So you're not pressing like any key. You're kind of like try to see if I defined all the errors or all the characters on the keyboard. I didn't do it. So I was like, I didn't pass, and I was so depressed. I was like, I really want to do this. Like, why is this so hard to me? And I started to talk with people, and they were like, oh, but maybe you can go with graphic design and kind of like move from there. There are people that actually like prepare the design and work with a developer. So maybe, and I was like, all right. I mean, I don't know how to draw. I don't know if I'm good. But I did it anyways, and kind of like that was the best decision that I could like make.
This is really interesting because it brings me to the following question I had prepared for you. That's about the no-code movement. Now I understand why you choose to work with no-code tools and it explains why a designer today doesn't need the coding situation in order to survive or to accomplish projects or to launch products and all that. So how did you find out about this no-code movement? Which impact do these tools have in your personal and professional life being a designer?
For me, it was like game changer, because even though that I studied graphic design and wanted to, because the thing is, like, once you design something, you wanted to replicate that, like from the life side, and that wasn't happening. I was kind of like struggle with like developers, like, I want this like this way, or this is too low, this is too high. I'm gonna say also that the pixel perfect and all this wasn't like so popular, let's say, that time. But for me, it was like really like I seen those like amazing websites, and I was like, I just want to be able to learn how to code to do this and myself, and you know, exactly like kind of like create what I'm thinking. So
yes,
when
you don't want to depend
of
a developer or of anyone else. You want to be a creator yourself.
Yeah, because I can be annoying, and I'll move here, and I guess like we're kind of like jealous with our work. We wanted to make it like the way we want. So when I started like seeing the like different platforms start like this, I was like, this can be true. This can be real. This maybe is going to be messed out. You know, like you made it pretty, and then when you publish it, it's all weird.
It's not working.
So I was like, too good to be true, kind of. But everything was like, I started like testing different things, and I was like, whoa, I kind of I love that. Kind of like there is a way, because you need to design in a certain way for the software to kind of like understand what you're trying to do, and that's amazing, because like there are like different like pattern like specifications, but you can make it work yourself, and you can create something. So for me, it was like totally game changing, and especially Bravo. That was a whole thing, because I always hear about website landing pages. Even Adobe had a software that they before XD they had one that was that you were able to create your design, and they give you the code. I don't remember the name. So I guess like everything started like that, and then when I hear about Bravo, I was like, this is super cool, because you can actually like build an app, and there are like so many options, and you can connect your IPAs. It's just I'm just so excited, since I have that background with the kind of like not understanding really well the code. Like for me, it's just I'm just curious about what's going to happen in the next 5 years.
Do you believe that this kind of tools help you learn to code in a more friendly way? Are you learning something about code, or that doesn't happen?
That too, because and I realized that later, because when I was studying, you know, that you start like containers, like the different sections of the website, how you structure, how the margins, the patterns, you start like learning all that by theory basically, and you're kind of like seeing it. But then when you're constructing the design, and you have to be aware of these things in order for the software to understand it, it's kind of like a visual way to understand what's really happening on the code. So for me, it was like really helpful and friendly because I'm kind of like a more visual person.
Yes,
I was like,
sure.
So I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense because this is a container and it needs to be like this, and we need to like determine this and this like that. And I also understand a lot, and I was able to put it like in the developer position, because sometimes us as designers, we're trying to create things that are like too much, or maybe like the way that we handle the assets, you start like seeing more of your mistakes and like kind of like
yes, and it creates also some kind of empathy, I believe, with the developer shop, because you know now or you know a bit about how coding works, and you know how everything affects everything. So that's really interesting. I'd love to know if any of the designers that are watching this video have the same experience. Well, leave it in the comments and we'll read it, because it's a really interesting point in the no-code movement, the learning to code actually, and coding but visually. So it's something that yes, I found particularly interesting. Well, another question for you. You were mentioning previously the social media and how you started to work in your personal branding and so. And I would like to ask, how do you plan and organize the content you post? Because you have a really professional account now, and you use it to share your designs or share tips or something like that, or your own case studies, and to also interact with other designers or other professionals in the industry. So how do you organize the content, and how much effort do you put into the personal branding nowadays?
Well, like I was mentioning, I didn't know who was Andrea or Antiosa besides clients' expectations. So I was cool with that at like the beginning, I guess. And then I guess it was also, since I had to move like from country to another country, you start like your friends, like the group, like your creative kind of like circle that you're around, like it changed. I didn't know anyone here besides my co-workers, and everything was happening like so fast, like internet, social media, and you have to be like, in my case, I've been like creating social and planning and websites and things for 10 years for other people, and now it's like that's it, like I closed my job over here, like I finished my job, go home, like be with my husband, whatever. But one day it was just like, what am I doing, who I am, like what's my logo, like I haven't updated my portfolio like since who knows.
That's a real common problem, the portfolio.
Yes. And also you work with different brands that you're not able to share anything of, like also. So I felt kind of like lost at some point, like a inner feeling, like design feeling of lost. And I knew that I was like learning so much and working so much, and I wasn't like doing anything with it. And I guess I kind of like I was like kind of like down, or kind of like a depression. So my plan, like how it started was just to create an account that was like the visual diary, that thing. I was like sometimes mad, so I kind of like process it through there. So I wrote, I kind of like make a composition about, like you're not always right. Like sometimes like you need to listen, like things like that. But it was like kind of like talking to myself through design and creating and just like playing with colors. That was how I started, because I didn't know how I wanted to like present myself in this environment. And the people started like following. I was doing, it wasn't like anything. Kind of like sometimes I posted like outside, like freelance work over there, but it wasn't anything planned. and people started like liking me. I like this. You know, I kind of like motivate me, and I was like, why people is following me? This is weird. So I guess yes. By that time, I started to study in Ironhack, UX UI, and because as I told you, graphic designer and everything web related that I worked for that period of time was on me. Internet, YouTube, try and error, and things like that. But I never like did like a career. And I had the opportunity, and I wanted just to polish myself and learn like the good, the bad, you know, like the best practice. And when I did that, I started creating kind of like the projects that I was creating for that. I was posting it on Instagram, and people were like super like engaging with it.
Receptive, yeah.
Yeah, and I start like defining by that moment my colors. So okay, so this is going to be my color. I want to complement it with this and this and that, and then
you had to organize your feed and then
yes, kind of like
your look.
I like this type of illustration, so this is going to be my theme. So kind of like build it within like working it, like on the like every time I realized like something that I was creating that actually defined me, so I keep it, and I was like, this is part of my brand, I guess. And when actually started like getting crazy was when Adobe called me to do an Adobe Live.
Yeah.
And I was like, I never like being on camera or any. My husband is a photographer, and I'm good like behind the camera. I know exactly what you need to do and how you need to pose and how you know, but don't put me in front of the camera because
now you are in front of the camera, so
I know, and I'm feeling right now because this is kind of like a conversation. But if I have to record myself, and then it's too much. So yes, when that started, I was like, okay, I don't want to show myself really that much. Like I'm good with this, but I, you know, was like, if I want to grow my Instagram or community, or kind of like put more work into this, I have to like talk and show my face, and you know, there's a lot of people doing this, and I was like, I'm not sure that I can do that. So I create the little 3D me, so I can put her in that position for me and play around. And yeah, I guess like it was, if I have to define it, kind of like to simplify all these ideas, it would be, I just started like feeling what it was making me happy, because every post is about that. Like sometimes you can read something that it can sound that is globally, but actually it was because I was like passing through something, or you know, I being excited about something, and that gave me that inspiration to create it.
Or being ansiosa about
something. Yes, exactly. Everything is just about learn.
And why did you choose Instagram? Did you try any other social media? Did you try, I don't know, Twitter, for example, or something like that?
I used Dribble a lot before. But I guess Instagram took over a lot, like between all the platforms, like kind of like you can find like really good segmentations of community on Instagram, and they're really active, and it's more visual. Like if you want to, like share a story or like record a video, or like so many possibilities to create your content. And I also was kind of like used to work with that with my clients, so it was like my favorite platform, I guess.
Okay.
And I complement like right now with Behance, Dribble. I started with YouTube, but I'm having kind of like issues, like I told you, like with the camera and all that. So we'll see how I can figure it out. But yeah, I guess it's because it's more visual and it's actually a really big community there.
And which platforms do you use to gather inspiration or references? Do you use Instagram too, or is there anything else you choose?
Yes and no, because like with this Instagram, I kind of like have to explain to all my friends that I was just following design accounts, and then my personal, I was following their account.
Yeah,
Because I wanted that. I wanted like to be able to look for inspiration without finding your trip to the beach or kind of things like that. But usually, what I use the most is Pinterest. I really like Pinterest, and I think the way the algorithm works, it's really cool because it shows everything that I want to see. It knows me and Behance too, especially for compositions.
okay.
I really like to see how like different artists like make the showcase their work.
Great. So, well, now we'll go on to the last question of this part of the interview. and the last question is, if you had to give a freelancer or a junior designer a piece of advice, what would it be?
All right. Patience and hard work and believe that you can do it. Like no matter like if you feel that you can, no matter if you feel that you're not good. It's all, I'm not going to say that it's just like in your head, because like it's something that you actually need to work, but it's possible to get better, it's possible to learn, it's possible to train yourself, like especially being able to appreciate what you actually want to create, like what's your vision, what's your style, what like the people you admire, like how they do things, like and why, not because you're trying to copy or steal their work. It's just like try to analyze like how is like composed everything and keep working, keep learning. That if you're starting and you feel that that this field is like just too much, because it is like you need to learn a lot of stuff, but if you love it, you're going to be able. And as a freelance, I will say to have a lot of empathy with your client, with your if you work with another person, or even if you have someone to help you, because sometimes as designers we see things in a way, but we don't want to expand and see how other people see the things. And I think that even though if you take it or no, it's just like really good for the communication and development of the brand or job that you're doing, just to keep it open and try to like everyone involved like have like a little piece and for you to figure it out how it's going to look.
Okay, well, that's great. I hope everyone gets to this part of the video and listens to this advice. Well, we're about to finish our interview. I want to thank you again for joining us. You've been great on video, so you can pursue your YouTuber career. In the next episode, we will talk about ethical practices in design, so please subscribe to our channel. And we'll finish this interview with an updated version of the Proust Questionnaire. The Proust Questionnaire has its origins in a parlor game that was popularized by Proust. who believe that when answering these questions, an individual reveals his or her true nature. So I'm going to ask you to choose two numbers between 1 and 35, and those will be your final questions. So,
number 7. 20.
Okay, that's great. I'm reading the questions in the questionnaire. So 7 is, what are the ugliest apps you use on your daily basis?
I kind of like, I'm gonna say that if an app is ugly, I only use it because I have to, because I'm pretty kind of like jealous with that. I think it was right now. I can say actually, when I was in Venezuela, when you have to do all this type of legal things, all those websites and apps are terrible, and it was a nightmare. I remember that I kind of like did a project on ironhack about that, like how like the most important like websites or platforms to do your legal stuff, like the user friendly was just like not present there. But let's see, they like app right now. Let me check my phone. I don't think that I have one.
It was a tough question.
Yeah, no. I think all the ugly apps didn't pass my
your filter.
Yes.
You're free of ugly apps. Well, that's great. And before our last question, I'd like to remember our audience to follow Bravo Studio on social media, at bravo.studio on Instagram and at Bravo Studio app on Twitter. And the last question is, which living person do you most admire?
I'm gonna say that I really admire, and I don't know if it is like the best person to name, but Elon Musk. I kind of like admire the vision that he had and the ideas that he had, like to create something different, like completely different. And I like that. I don't know him as a person, and I don't know if he's a good person or I can say that it's like the people that I admire the most. But I really love when people has like different visions of the things, like they can like change like everything. Like I the last thing I read that he was like kind of like building a school for his kids, and kind of like the way, like the education it should be on this era. I like when people like kind of like scratch everything that is created to create something, to give space and create something new.
Well, that's great. Thanks a lot, Andrea, for joining us. And thanks to the audience for watching. And thanks, Bravo, for inviting me to host these interviews. And well, see you soon. Goodbye.